Well, good morning to everybody and welcome again to Timeout. My name is Jack Windt, and to all the Timeouters, I want to give a shout out this morning and say thank you this morning for watching and for commenting. A special shout out to Annika and her husband, who gave me that interesting comment on disinformation and misinformation last week. That's very interesting. Now, this morning, I'm going to share with you about why it is important for you to push the play button in your life. So just hang in there. It's going to be very interesting. Now, I want to say that if you enjoy this video, why don't you share it with a friend on your platform? And when you share something, you're sending good news to encourage people. They don't have to watch it, but at least you give them an opportunity. And in the midst of all the things we're going through, I think it's just important to share good news that can encourage people and uplift them. So thank you for sharing, thank you for commenting, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Now, this morning, why is it important for you and I to push the play button in our lives? Now, behind me you can see there is an old device called a tape recorder. I don't know if you all remember a tape recorder, but I was going to bring a video recorder, but that's a very heavy instrument these days, and it could break me and my bike as well. So I just bought a tape recorder because the buttons on the tape recorder are very similar to a video recorder. As a matter of fact, it's similar to most of the devices we use today. So there's relevance to understand what I'm saying. I'm going to be speaking about what these different buttons on that machine behind me, what they mean to us in our lives and why we push these buttons. Now, have you ever heard somebody say, be careful who pushes your buttons? That's just a saying. And there's a reason why people say that. Now, I want to tell you a true story. All my stories are normally true stories, but this is a real true story. That video, or rather that tape recorder behind me, I bought in the 70s, early 70s. I was in grade 10, I think, or so. I can't remember exactly, but grade 9 or 10. I had the opportunity to work in a clothing store called Markham's. It's still around in Vryheid, and I was earning some extra money as an assistant salesperson, trying people's shoes on and all sorts of things. I learned a lot in that time, and Mr. Van Niekerk, he still gave me the opportunity he was the manager, to work there, and I used my money and I saved up and I bought that Sanyo tape recorder behind me. It was state of the art at the time. It had just come out because I wanted to record songs from the radio and just have my own ability to listen to my songs that I wanted to hear. And so when I took it out of my cupboard the other day, it's on its way out because it's 50 years old, or maybe not as old as 50, but 45 years old or whatever. And I wanted to it reminded me of why we need to push the play button in our lives. Now, let me just quickly go over you what most of the devices have. They have a fast forward button, they have a rewind button, they have a stop button if you want to stop the thing. There's a pause button, and there's also an eject button. And then lastly, I just want to speak about those buttons. There is the most important button on any device that you can buy, that you want to use to do something. It's the play button. The play button is key, and I want to get to that, but can I start first of all and speak about why you may be pushing and why I may be pushing the buttons on these devices and what they mean in our lives. Now, the first button I want to refer to is the fast forward button. You know, if you've ever watched a movie and you're a man and it's a bit slow and it's a rom-com and you want to get to the action, you fast forward the movie and your wife says, don't do that, because the moment you fast forward a movie on any device, you miss out scenes, and then she says, I don't know what happened there. I don't know. You have to go back because I don't understand what's happening now. So it's great to fast forward if you're bored, but it leaves you not understanding what's happening. Now, I've heard many people say, maybe you've said it or you've heard it, I'm so sick and tired of 2020. I'm so over it. I can't wait for 2021 because it's going to be a great year and it's a new year and all our troubles will be over. Well, I'm an optimist and I'd like to believe that, but let me just share a realistic fact with us all that, there's only a few seconds that separate 2020 to 2021. A few seconds and then we're into the new year, and you may feel nothing initially. If you really wanted to fast forward, you may have to fast forward a couple of years. The problem with fast forwarding your life is that you miss out important scenes. In a movie, they have different scenes they shoot to tell a story, and if you miss a scene, you don't understand what's happening further on. And then they have another interesting thing called dialogue, which they put in between with words so that you can understand what the theme of the story is and what the emotions are. So if you take the dialogue out and you take the scenes out, you may go into the fast forward mode into the future, but you'll never understand what it means. And I think maybe it reminds me that maybe we don't understand what's happening in 2020. We didn't like 2020. A lot of negative things happened, but maybe it was important for us to see 2020 going forward in our lives. It's going to give us meaning. I'd like to believe that. So don't always be in a hurry to push the fast forward button in your life, even if it's boring. There's a reason for every scene, and there's a reason for the dialogue that you need to hear to understand certain things. Then the second button that you find on these devices, whether it's my video recorder or whether it's my tape recorder behind me, is a rewind button. When I push the rewind button, I'm normally going backwards. I'm normally going to the front. They used to put the rewind button so that you can start in the beginning all over again, and you can watch the movie, or you can listen to the tape from the beginning. So when I push the rewind button in my life, it's normally because I want to go back to something. Why do people go back to certain things in their past? Is maybe because there's a good memory there I want to remember, and it makes me feel good. And oftentimes that's really the reason. Many years ago, there was a tribe that came from the north, and I won't give you their names, don't offend anybody, but they were what I called the Wenwi tribe. And they came into South Africa and they started speaking the Wenwi language. And maybe you speak it today. Wenwi language is normally when we are rewinding in our lives. You hear these people, they say things like, when we were young. And, when motor cars were still motor cars. And, when people were still honest. And, when food really was good and money had value. Everything out of their mouth is prefaced by when we. And the problem with Wenwi language is it's always a language that refers to the past. It's in rewind mode. And, and the reason why we sometimes live in the past is because those moments of our memories are glamorized and they're unrealistic sometimes, and they seem greater than they really are. And there's nothing wrong in remembering a good memory or being in the past. I'm simply saying the problem with the Wenwi language or the Wenwi mode or the rewind mode is that we cannot live our future in our past. We can only live our future in our future. And that's why that button can sometimes be very dangerous for us going forward. But there's a reason why people do that. Now, the next leads me to the next button. When you're watching a movie and your wife says, hang on a second, push pause. I need to go to the bathroom. I'm sure we've all had that. And normally it's 2 or 3 minutes and then it's over and you start pushing play again and you watch the movie. But the reason why we push pause in our life is because sometimes we just need to catch our breath. Sometimes we just need a bathroom break. And there's nothing wrong with that. And in the old machines, when you pushed pause, there was like lines that came on and they froze the picture. And it was just there for you to pause for a few seconds or a minute or two. It was never meant to be in pause mode. No machine was built to be in pause mode, especially the old machines, because it would stretch the tape. It would put the mechanism under stress. As a matter of fact, the manufacturers right back in the beginning when they made these old video machines would build in a safety that if the pause was longer than 2 or 3 minutes, the machine would say, okay, you're not coming back now, I'm switching off and I'm stopping. And then you'd have to start again. So the pause was just there. And I feel that sometimes when we put our life on pause mode for longer than 2 or 3 minutes or for a short period, it may mean there's a problem, because you can't exist in pause mode for long term, because it means that you're not going forward, you're not playing the picture. So pause mode is there for a reason, but it shouldn't be there for a whole season. Now, the next one, if you really get frustrated, brings me to the button called the stop button. When I push the stop button on the video recorder, let's just use the video recorder. I'm watching the movie and I stop and I push the stop. I'm saying, the world is really spinning fast and I need to get off. I need to stop because I can't handle it anymore. When I push the stop button, it's because I've now saying I'm not watching anymore. I need a break. And sometimes it's longer than the pause button because it may take me days or hours before I again push the play button. Stop means stop. Now, then there was second last, the eject button. In the old video recorders, the eject button was like a jet taking off. It would make a funny sound as it ejected the tape and pushed it forward. And it was quite a spectacular mechanism. And it was saying, here's the tape. If you don't want to watch anymore, then put me away and get out of here. And you take the tape, put it in a sleeve, put it on your mantelpiece or somewhere that you kept all your tapes. And you were saying when you ejected a tape, I'm no longer watching. I am no longer going to be watching this movie. I'm finished. And sometimes when we do that, that's exactly how we feel. We finished and we're going to put that video away, we're going to put that picture away in its sleeve, and maybe one day we'll take it off the shelf again and we'll put it in the machine and we'll push play and we'll watch it again. But for now, it's finished. And I understand why sometimes in life we feel that way. But I want to come to the most important button on any of these machines, whether it's the tape recorder behind me or the video machine or whatever you're watching, is the play button. All the other buttons I said and some others that I didn't mention were all created by the manufacturers for the play button. Everything revolves around the play button. If you take the play button out, nobody would buy a movie. Nobody would rent the video machine. Nobody would buy a video machine because they'd say all these buttons are great, but they can't do anything because there's no play button. The play button in our lives is the most important button to press because that gives meaning to our lives. As a matter of fact, when we push the play button, and why you need to push the play button, why I need to push the play button, is because when I push the play button, I start to bring that movie into play of my life. I start to see the scenes that I need to see, and the people I need to hear, and the people I need to experience, and I start to experience all the things that are still going to happen in my life. The exciting things are still in the future maybe. And if I don't push the play button that God has got for me to play, I may never ever know what I'm missing out. Nothing in my life would ever make sense because the dialogue would be gone, the picture would be gone, and the whole story would be gone. So it's important that you and I push the play button. And that reminds me of something. When I was very young, I remember clearly my mother saying to me, Jack, shouting at me, it's late, come in, it's getting dark. You need to wash your hands, you need to eat your food, you need to go and bath, and you need to sleep. That's how it works. And I can clearly hear her say that. And if I could rewind my life to that point, I would say to my mother, Mom, I've been in my future. I have fast forwarded. I want to ask you something. Can you give me 5 more minutes of play? 5 more minutes, because I believe 5 more minutes may just be the difference in changing my life. 5 more minutes. And maybe what you need today is just 5 more minutes of play to change everything in your life. My name is Jack Windt. You've been watching Timeout, and I'll catch you next week.
You unravel me with a melody. You surround me with a song. I've delivered